So we get this question too. What is an Anglican? That's a good question. We like to brand things, don't we? When we use the word Anglican, we're talking about the expression, the tradition of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church that's come out of the British Isles, out of England. And there are three main historical contributors to that. One is the Celtic Church. Another is the Romano-British, the relationship between Rome and Britain, if you know about some world history, like Hadrian's Wall and that kind of thing. And the other is Roman Catholicism, or a Roman Christianity, with Gregory the Great, who was Bishop of Rome and sent Augustine of Canterbury in about 596 AD and he eventually establishes the See of Canterbury. So these three big traditions have kind of what shaped Anglicanism in its history. And then the Reformation, when that begins with Henry VIII, that stretches on through until about 1660, 1662 is when the prayer book is finalized. That becomes the basis for all of our prayer books today. And so that's a real short history of what we could say Anglican means. But what does it look like today? So it's great to know the history, that we do have a literal historical connection to the apostles, and that it's been around to the ups and downs and the good and the bad in the church and in the nations, right? What about today? So today, the Anglican Church, imagine with me, if you will, the globe. And here's the globe, and spread all over the globe are these things called provinces. And a province is a really big, typically, geographic area, often associated with nations, but not all the time. So you could say you have the province of Nigeria, which is the largest numerical province, or Uganda, or Australia. And then you could talk about a geographic area that's bigger than a continent that contains a province. Inside a province are smaller groupings. So can you see the map in your imagination? So that the province breaks down into smaller groupings, and in those groups you have what's called a diocese. And the bishop oversees a diocese. And inside the diocese, you have parishes or congregations or churches. And over those churches, or in those churches, you have priests and deacons. And so the bishop is the connection between the congregation and the other provinces. The bishop is also the connection between the bishops around him at that time, the temporal component, and in history. So that the bishop, through what's called apostolic succession, is connected to the other bishops on the planet, around the world right now, in that whole Anglican communion and the rest of the Catholic communion, which includes the Roman Catholics and Orthodox churches and some other groups, even though they break into other categories. But that process of ordination, the bishop is the connection back to the apostles, to the Easter room, Easter Sunday room when Jesus appeared to the apostles. He's that connection in time, and he's the connection all around the world right now. So if you are Anglican, you are part of that one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And you have literal, tangible connection to the church globally right now and to the church historically. That's a pretty neat idea, because some Christian traditions are really new and they don't have that sense of rootedness. And this doesn't make them somehow, like they love the Lord less, or they don't reach out with the gospel story less than others. It's not about those kinds of discussions. But when people say, well, what does it mean that it's Anglican? Well, we're talking about a whole scope of history. And we're talking about how the churches relate to each other now. So that as a priest, there is a bishop that I'm submitted to. There are other priests in the diocese that we are serving together with in our particular parishes. And then we have deacons that are helping and serving the bishop and other priests. And then we have, and this is great, you're going to like this, the rest of the church. The rest of the church. So everybody that is in Jesus, that's baptized, that's received him, is part of his royal priesthood, filled with the Spirit to go out and to do everything that the Lord has called them to do. And when you do that inside of the Anglican tradition, that opens up a whole world, literally, of gospel ministry and opportunity. That's what it is to be Anglican. Come and join us.